Good morning, everybody. So I wanted to do a video here about real mowing Bermuda and some of the pros and the cons and things to look out for, things to think about. So um, this yard is at my new house I built 2 years ago. So we sodded this, when did we sod this? June 30th of 2022. I've got 17,000 square feet out front of Tiff-Tuff, Bermuda. I'm in north of Atlanta in Canton, Georgia. And we put all this down, like I said, in 2022. And I finally got a reel mower for this yard a few weeks ago. I have had Bermuda at my previous two houses. I used to own a small commercial landscape business. I did mowing, maintenance, and turf care. I was licensed in Georgia in turf and ornamental care to be able to spray, chemicals and stuff like that. Passed all the tests, did all that, had the commercial pesticide license, blah, blah, blah. I let that lapse. I sold that business about 10 years ago, and I do miss that business. I may start one up again, except this time I won't be doing any of the labor. But I have experience in this, and I reel mowed my last two houses that I owned before this one. My first yard was a little tiny postage stamp yard in a little starter community, and I mowed that with a 20-inch True Cut reel mower, and I put a front roller bar on it. And then when I upgraded to my next house, I had a slightly bigger yard. I had about 4,000 square feet of Bermuda in the front yard of that. And I maintained that one with a 27-inch True Cut with a front roller bar. I like the True Cut mowers, especially if you have hills and stuff. You do have the California trimmer, and there's some other newer ones on the market that use basically like a drum type drive system. If you have a nice wide open kind of flat area, those are all right. I prefer the True Cut better because it has the clutch and you can feather the clutch. It's easier to go around curves and stuff like that. It kind of doesn't take you for a ride as much as those other machines do. But to each his own. They're both good machines. I just much prefer the True Cut. It's just a better machine. And the 27-inch, the C27, is just a great machine. It's also heavy enough where it will stripe better than the 20-inch machine. My dad still has my old 20-inch machine, and when I upgraded to the 27, I sold my dad my 20-inch machine for $150 or something. I gave him a really good deal on it. And he still uses that. He has a little postage stamp yard, and he uses that 20-inch on his postage stamp yard. But anyways, on this yard, because it's so big, I mow this with a triplex, a Toro. It's an older machine. It's a Toro 216 triplex. So it has three reels, three 27-inch reels, one on either side, one kind of in the middle underneath the seat. And it's 3-wheel drive, and I can spin it around. It's diesel powered. For this big wide open yard, when we moved here, I tried one time with my 27. I was like, no, I'm going to be here all day long mowing this grass. I'm not doing that. So I sold the 27 to a friend of mine, and he's been using that on his yard. And then I was mowing this for the last couple years with a 48-inch walk behind mower, and I just was not happy with the cut. A rotary mower there's just no comparison from reel mowed to rotary. So right now, I've got this set at 3/4 of an inch tall is the height of cut. When I got that mower from that guy, it was set at 1 inch. I readjusted the reels down to 3/4. And I have not leveled or sanded this yard yet. In my previous two houses, I have leveled the yards, leveled them out with sand. And for those of you who say that if you level clay with sand, it turns to concrete, you're wrong. You're totally wrong. I've done it at many houses. I was a landscaper. You're wrong. Concrete requires sand, aggregate, Portland cement, and water to turn into concrete. If you're missing the Portland cement, it doesn't turn into concrete, right? So it doesn't. Also, it's very important to if you have Bermuda, you need to aerate it, especially where we live here in Georgia. We've got clay soils here, and they get hard and they get compacted. You need to aerate every year. In my opinion, and this is truly my opinion, the best time to aerate Bermuda is around Memorial Day. A lot of the companies are going to press you to do it in like April because that's when they're not busy and they can squeeze it in. But the reality is you want to aerate Bermuda when it's actively growing. And in April, it's still transitioning out of dormancy, especially around here where I live in Georgia. Depending on your climate zone, you may come out of dormancy a little bit sooner. You need to pay attention to your soil types. But mainly what I'm going to be talking about here is I'm going to be talking about Georgia and kind of my climate zone. I think I'm like, I forget, I don't know. I don't want to quote it. I forget which growing zone. It's either 6 or 7 or something like 7B or something like that. So anyways, you want to aerate. My guy will be coming, making this video on May 16th. Oh, today's my sister's birthday. I should probably call her today. May 16th, I've got my guy coming, today's Thursday. He's coming next week. His machine is down this week. So he's coming to aerate my yard. I could do it myself, but I have a guy that I know that has a nice like Turfco stand-on machine. Those are the best machines to aerate with, in my opinion, because they're heavy and because the tines are driven hydraulically down into the ground. So even if the ground is hard, they still pull very good plugs because they have a lot of ground pressure on those tines to dig deep. Versus a kind of a walk-behind machine, it only weighs so much, and if the ground's kind of hard, it's not going to penetrate as deep as a ride-on machine does. So if you can, I recommend getting a ride-on machine to do it. You can rent the tow behind or the walk-behinds at Home Depot. If you are going to rent a machine, rent one with split tines on it. The fixed drum machine is a freaking workout. It will wrestle you to death. But if you have one with split tines, they basically have like it almost works like a car differential, and the tines will ratchet a little bit and allow you to turn easier. Those are much better. Ryan has a split tine machine. Turfco has a split tine machine. But the Bluebirds and the Classens, man, those will give you a workout. I think they do make a split tine machine, but some of the ones you're going to rent at the big box stores are going to give you a workout operating them. So it's morning here, so you got the dew. It looks great across the yard. I mowed this 2 days ago on Tuesday. It's Thursday when I'm making this video. I mowed it Tuesday. I'll be mowing it again tomorrow. If you're real mowing Bermuda, it's important. You have to mow frequently. Now, you can use a plant growth regulator for like Primo, for instance, is one of the name brands of plant growth regulators that will slow down the growth and will actually cause the Bermuda to spread laterally. Or you just have to mow frequently. So if you're going to make the choice to real mow Bermuda, you need to mow frequently. You can't mow once a week. It's just not gonna work, right? If you're gonna mow once a week, just use your rotary mower like you've always done. If you're gonna commit to real mowing this and you're gonna commit to having really nice looking Bermuda, and by the way, Bermuda was bred, a lot of this is all hybrid Bermuda. It was created in a lab and bred. It was bred to be cut short. It needs to be cut short because when you cut this short and you cut it frequently, it's going to spread laterally. It's going to send all those rhizomes and stolon, all that energy is going to go out into the rhizomes and the stolons, and it's going to send that energy out and spread laterally versus wanting to grow vertically. It's also going to get much thicker. Some people say, oh, well, if you cut it short, it's going to need more water. That's actually the opposite. If you cut it short and you maintain it with a reel, it needs less water because you're creating a more dense canopy of grass to shade the roots out, and it'll keep the roots moist. I have firsthand experience with this. I've been reel mowing Bermuda since I bought my first row mower in 2009. So I've been doing it for a long time now. What's that, 15 years now? So yeah, 15 years I've been reel mowing Bermuda. I have firsthand experience with it. So anyone who's telling you the opposite probably doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. So anyways, I just started mowing this at 3/4 inch a few weeks ago. I'm mowing it every 3 days right now. When we get into the heat of summer, come June, July, August, I'm going to be mowing this probably every 2 days, every other day. Now, the part of the reason why I bought that big triplex mower is because I can mow this whole yard in a very short period of time. I can do this whole front yard, and I have some on the side over here. I can do all this in about 30 minutes, which is not bad. And the cut still looks fantastic. So come next, when it starts really warming up, it's just starting to warm up here in Georgia this week, like last week. And then we had a little bit of a cold snap come in earlier this week where temperatures were only in like the 60s during the day, high 60s, low 70s. But it's starting to get hot now, which means the Bermuda is going to take off. Bermuda grows its best when it's hot and humid. So when the nighttime temperatures get above 65 degrees and they stay consistently above 65 degrees at night, the Bermuda is going to really start taking off. It's going to really start growing. It's going to get really, really aggressive. So, contrary to popular belief, you do not have to level Bermuda if you have a roller on your reel mower. Okay. So if you're using a reel mower that just has like kind of wheels on it, it's going to do the same thing as your rotary. It still will cut better than your rotary, but when the wheels drop into the little dips and the grooves and all the holes in the yard, it is going to scalp in some spots. But what happens when you have a roller on it is that roller bridges that gap and allows you to run over the holes in the dips and the valleys so that it doesn't move around as much and it stays pretty flat. The reel also won't dig in and scalp as badly as a rotary mower, especially with this. I was cutting it with a 48-inch rotary mower. If you think about it, when I was cutting with the I had one fixed plane of 48 inches all the way across. So if I had any variation in height, I had, if you went up, 2 inches on this side, that means you had to go down 2 inches on the other side, and you had this big 48-inch plane that's doing this. Now, with my new mower, I have 3 independently operating 27-inch reels. So they follow the contours of the ground better. Plus, the reels on my triplex have roller bars in the front and the back. So they stay and they just kind of float on top of the grass and they move around. But if you're using a walk-behind reel like a True Cut or something like that, it's a 27-inch reel. And if you get a roller bar for it, which I highly, highly suggest you get a roller bar for it, I would almost literally throw the wheels in the trash and put roller bar on it for sure. It's going to cut so much better, and you don't have to level your yard. I will be leveling this yard here in the next couple weeks. I'm doing a special project with some of you. If you're on like Instagram, there's a guy, Lawn Dad Official, on Instagram. His name's Darren. He actually lives like 5 minutes from me over here. He doesn't live very far. Our kids go to school together, so I know him well. So we're going to be doing some content for Instagram, and I'll put it on the YouTube channel and stuff. He does all the crazy fancy editing and all that stuff. I don't do any of that. I just tend to ramble on camera, but we're going to be leveling this out. So he's got a top dressing machine. We're going to be leveling this all out with sand. And then, like I said, I've got my aerating guy coming to aerate. I like to aerate around Memorial Day, like I said, every year. That's when I aerate, is around Memorial Day every single year. That's when the Bermuda is growing, and it's going to actively recover very, very quickly from the, in fact, it'll recover in like less than a week later. You won't even know that you aerated. It's that good. Also, what I like to do is at my other house, every year after I aerated, I would top dress the yard with a mixture, a 50-50 mixture of sand and they have basically like a top dressing mix of compost that's a lot finer stuff. And the reason I do that is because when you aerate, you put the holes in the ground, and then if you immediately top dressed right after the yard, those holes are going to fill up with the sand and the compost mixture, and they're going to change the soil profile. I don't pick up my plugs. So what I do is after I top dress or after I aerate and I top dress, then I run over the yard with a drag. You can make a drag. At my other house, I literally used a piece of chain link fence and some wood 6x6s, and I just drug it behind my neighbor's riding lawnmower. I have a riding lawnmower now that I can use on this. But you just make a drag and it'll just pulverize all those plugs and break them up, and they'll just mix in with the rest of the soil. Then you just water it in really good for a few days and it will just mix right in, and within a few days you can start mowing it again and it'll look fantastic. So I always recommend I top dressed every year. When you have a big yard like this, it is a lot more work. So I use a machine on this. Darren has a top dressing machine where we can basically just run around and it'll spread it out, and then I'll just use the drag behind my riding lawnmower and drag it around and smooth it all out. But you can look at this and see how flat and smooth it is. I have not leveled this. This yard is very bumpy. You can see some of the dips and the valleys, but this is a very bumpy yard. But because I'm cutting it with a reel, it cuts better. So if you're interested in going and reel mowing your Bermuda, I highly recommend it. But it is a commitment. It is a commitment. So if you're not willing to commit to mow it 3 to 4 times a week, then you just need to just use your... Now you can mow it, let's say twice a week, and then just gradually raise up your height of cut a little bit throughout the season. And then you can do, throughout the season, you can do what's called a height of cut reset, where you're basically scalping it back down. So you can drop your reel lower than you normally cut, scalp it back down. It'll look like crap for about a week, and then it'll green back up and it'll start growing again. And then you can sort of reset your height of cut. Sometimes you have to do that. You can do that, and you can mow less frequently, but you do have to mow frequently with a reel. But the results, there's just no comparison to cutting Bermuda with a reel versus a rotary mower. That just you can't compare the two. The closest comparison you could go to would be like cutting it with a walker mower. They're the yellow mowers. Some of them have the grass handling system, the GHS hopper in the back. Some of them just mulch. The design of the walker decks, while it is a rotary, it free floats more than a traditional rotary mower. It cuts better, but it's still no comparison to a reel. So I highly suggest, if you want to have the best looking Bermuda, you need to reel mow it. And I'm trying to think of what else. You need to be given Bermuda nitrogen. It needs 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per month. You want to make sure that you're doing that. I used to treat, surprisingly, I have somebody treating my yards. I got really busy with a lot of things. I'm actually about to take back over the treatment of my yards. I've been having a turf company treat my yard. I had a lot going on in my life, as I mentioned in other videos. When my son was battling brain cancer, I just didn't have time to think about timing and all that. Now I'm going to take it back over again and start spraying my yard myself. I still have all my chemicals in my shop, all the different stuff, pre-emergence and all the different herbicides to keep spraying my yard. So I'm going to take it back over this year and start spraying it again. I need to get a little spray setup built so I can spray it myself and maintain it. But you could absolutely have a turf care company, maintain your yard. It's going to look 1,000 times better when you reel mow it. I know this video is long, but there's a lot of information to pack in. I'll do another, if you want me to do another video about maybe maintaining a reel mower or that sort of thing, I'd be happy to do that. So let me know in the comments if you want that. Thanks for checking out the video. Talk to you later. Bye.